My book, They Came Before Marco Polo, is now available on Amazon. The compelling story of China's African ancestry is revealed in this book. Readers are exposed to the African presence and impact on the Far East prior to the arrival of Marco Polo. With special focus on China, readers are shown the Chinese customs and traditions which have Black origins. The Black Mongols' interaction with China, the Swahili sailors' arrival in ancient China, and the ancient Black spiritual leaders who continue to guide China today, and much, much more. This book is a must reading for people of African descent. In today's lecture about the Black kingdoms in southern China and Vietnam, I need to point out to the listeners that, according to historian John R. Moore, early African migration to China has led to the development of a southern branch of Africoid, whom the Chinese referred to as Yi, Li Man, and Yueh, and a northern branch of Black types called Kushana. So now we're going to look at these two categories of Black types found in the Far East. The southern branch of Black types occupied South China and Southeast Asia. The northern branch of Blacks were discovered in North China, Mongolia, and the surrounding regions. Okay, so let's go a little deeper into this, okay? As historian James R. Moore pointed out, one term used for the southern branch of Black types was Yueh. The ancient Yueh state covered the areas of China's southern coast and went into North Vietnam. The Yueh kingdom thrived during China's spring and autumn period, which was from 722 to 481 BC. In many of the historical documents, texts, and research papers on this kingdom, you will see that they spell it sometimes YU or YUE. Many people could view the spring and autumn period as a chaotic period in Chinese history. China was not a unified country during this period. There were many smaller states and kingdoms that were competing with each other and attempting to dominate one another. At the bottom right-hand corner of the map, it lists where the Yueh kingdom was situated. The Yueh kingdom was also in competition with the other states and kingdoms during this period. Okay, so we're going to take a closer look at the Yueh kingdom and see if we can identify just exactly who these people were in the first place. Okay, so let's look at Dr. Phil Ulrich Theobald in his work Chinese History, Yu, Baiyu, and Shen Yu. He stated Yu was an ancient term referring to non-Chinese inhabitants of the southeast and far south of China. So they did not view the Yueh as a Chinese people, okay? They saw them as being non-Chinese. Okay, so we're going to go further and just who exactly these people were in the first place. So the Chinese did not view these people as Chinese, okay? They did not see the Yueh state as another population of Han Chinese. They didn't see them that way. That's not how they were viewed. According to Professor Shan Xin Ling, the Yueh state consisted of a Black population. That's not Han Chinese, folks. No, it's not. Historian Clyde Winters wrote, these Afro-Indian Dravidian people were called Yueh in the Chinese literature. So it's painting a picture for us about how they were looking at these people, how they were viewing these people. And they definitely did not see them as Han Chinese. I want to show you guys this. This map shows the territorial reign of the Yueh kingdom. And as you can see on this map, it outlines for us the extent of their empire. Just look at this map here, okay? It shows that Taiwan was once under the territorial reign of these people. Not only Taiwan, Hong Kong was also under them. Macau was also under them. The northern part of the Philippines, where all this area was under the territorial reign of the Yueh kingdom, of these Black people. According to the Chinese professor Shan Xin Ling, these people were Black. According to historian Clyde Winters, these people were Black. And look, this map just shows us the extent of their empire, the extent of the territorial reign that they had control of during their existence, during that spring and autumn period of Chinese history. Also, I want to point out to you that the Yuan Kingdom, it lied just north of Vietnam. Okay, it was just at the border, the northern border of Vietnam. I want you to keep that in mind because Vietnam plays an important role in this story I'm about to reveal to you. Okay. Okay, here's a map of Vietnam. The shaded area shows you where exactly Vietnam is located. I'm revealing this to you because I want to make it crystal clear in your mind where exactly Vietnam is situated. Because, like I said, Vietnam plays a very significant role in this story that I'm about to reveal to you. And the reason why Vietnam played a major role in this story we're talking about here is because of this. The text here reads, in the early Neolithic period, 8000 to 2200 BC, those who arrived to settle along Vietnam's southern coast were probably Negritos, or short, dark, curly haired people who, according to one theory, probably came from South China. Many researchers and historians stand by this position, okay? This is the view that many of them uphold. These early blacks who venture into Vietnam is where we derive the term Vietnam from in the first place. As the text here says, these blacks are responsible for the name Vietnam. The term Viet is derived from the Cantonese term Yuan, which means these people came from the Yuan Kingdom, the kingdom which lies just north of Vietnam. This is where they originated from. It started off from this kingdom. From there, they migrated into Vietnam. Here's a map of the nations that existed during the time period we're focusing on. Now you look here at this map, there's a circle toward the right side of the map. That circle highlights where the Yuan Kingdom was located. Okay, the green shaded area identifies the Yuan Kingdom, the location of the Yuan Kingdom. Now, if you look closely at this map, okay, it labels the Yuan Kingdom as Nan Yu. It calls this kingdom Nan Yu. Okay, now let's look at the circle at the bottom of the map. Okay, again, it shows the identification label for the Yuan Kingdom. Okay, it calls the Yuan Kingdom Nan Yu. Nan Yu is how they refer to the Yuan Kingdom. Now, if you look closely there in that circle, it also says Nam Viet. So Nan Yu or Nam Viet were both terms used for the Yuan Kingdom. Now, just look at that, okay? Instead of saying Nam Viet, today we just say Vietnam. Vietnam comes from Nam Viet. Nam Viet comes from Nan Yu. And Nan Yu is no more than the Yuan Kingdom, which existed in southern China. This is how we came to this term Vietnam. It came from the Yuan Kingdom, this black kingdom which existed in southern China. Besides the map I just shown you, there are other historians and researchers who also stand by this view. For example, the text here says, according to historian Clyde Winters, founders of Southeast Asian civilization from southern China were members of the Yuan tribe. These Proto-Tamil and Mandarin-speaking people moved from Yunnan into Southeast Asia. Okay, when you look at the word Yuan, when you see that word in a book, in a history book, in a textbook, you are not going to know that those people were black. The average modern person, the average lay person, when they run across that word, they are not going to know that those people were black. Okay, and this has happened a lot. When it comes to a lot of historical research, modern black people will run across words like Habashi, Kunlun, Liman, and you're not going to know that those words are referring to a black person. But those were type of words that they used to refer to particular black groups in the Far East. But you're not going to know that. The only way you're going to know that, you dig really deep into the research, and then you will see some Chinese researcher would say, oh, this person was black, this person was non-Chinese, or something like that. And that's how we were able to identify that they were referring to a black person. But normally in the modern books, you're not going to know that. They're just going to say, Yuan. You're not going to know who they're talking about. They're just going to say Habashi, Liman. You're not going to know who they're talking about unless you go really deep into the research and then you find out, oh, that person was black. And like, okay, let's look at this text here. Okay, this text here says the Yueh population is known to have migrated into China's southern provinces and northern Vietnam. Since ancient times, black migrants from southern China settled into Vietnam's Tonkin Delta region. These blacks were known by such pejoratory terms as Moi, which means savages. Now, I'm going to give a little tidbit about this word Moi. Okay, back in ancient times, the ancient Chinese saw China as being the center of the universe. It was called the middle country. And they referred to anybody who was, they referred to all non-Chinese as barbarians. Okay. What that basically means is anybody who did not know Chinese culture or Chinese civilization was considered a barbarian. They would look to as something beneath them because they saw China as being the number one country on the planet Earth. Chinese civilization, Chinese way of thinking, Chinese thought, Chinese customs and tradition were considered the number one on the planet Earth. And anybody who did not know that was considered a barbarian. And they refer to these blacks as such pejoratory terms as barbarians, Moi, savages, and other words along those lines. Okay, here's a picture of a Moi girl. Okay, I attended college at the University of Iowa. Okay, this picture that you see here before you right now, this picture right here, I actually showed this picture to some Vietnamese students at the University of Iowa. They were some of my co-workers. I was doing some what they call that work study at the VA hospital at the university in Iowa, at the University of Iowa. Okay, and while I was there, I had about 3 or 4 Vietnamese co-workers that were working at this hospital with me. Okay, and I had this picture. So I just showed them this picture of this girl and asked them, can you tell me a little bit about it? Who is this woman? What is this group called Moi? What is it? What do you know about them? And what they told me is these people, they live way out in the mountain or the forest areas of Vietnam. They said they pretty much stay to themselves. They make their own clothes. They grow their own food. And they just kind of pretty much stay away from civilization and just kind of pretty much stay to themselves. But yes, this is a picture of a Moi girl in Vietnam. Okay? And that's the information I get from my Vietnamese co-workers when I was 1,000 years ago when I was a student at the University of Iowa. But I had this photo and I showed it to them because I was incredibly interested in knowing more about this photo. Now, this text here says, this girl is a member of the Moi community in Vietnam. Some interesting stories have surfaced about this group. Black soldiers of the Vietnam War era brought back stories of black people they saw in the mountains, which the locals call montagnards, meaning mountain people. These black people living in the mountains and hills of Vietnam are said to have fought alongside U.S. troops against the North Vietnamese. It has also been said they were very protective of the black soldiers and viewed them as their brothers. Yeah, and I heard stories like that. I heard these stories before about how black soldiers in Vietnam during the Vietnam War, they would run across these black peoples in the hills and mountains of Vietnam, in the forest areas of Vietnam. And they saw these people as they saw the U.S. soldiers as their brothers and were very protective of them. Okay, here's a photo of another black girl in Vietnam. Okay, the text here says, this photo was taken by French photographer Rene Tetard. The photo was taken in the city of Lao Cai in the Tonkin region in northern Vietnam. Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, no. Hell no. I want to know more about this photo, okay? I want to know more about this girl. Who is she? What's her name? How old is she? What ethnic group she belongs to? What is her traditions, her customs? Well, I want to know the backstory behind this girl. This doesn't tell us anything. It's just a photo. We don't know too much about this. It's just a photo. I want to know more about this lady. This just opened up a million questions that I have, and I'm sure a lot of you have, about who this girl is and what is her backstory. So no, this not doing it. This just made me super curious about learning more about this lady, learning more about this girl. So what I did is I did my own little research on her. Okay, the photo said it was taken by a French photographer. So I went back and looked that up. Okay, I discovered that the French occupied Vietnam from 1858 to 1954. And from 1858 to 1887, Vietnam was gradually absorbed into French Indochina. So, what that means is this photo was taken sometime between 1858 and 1954. Okay? And the French called their territory French Indochina. French Indochina was just a label for all the Southeast Asian countries that they colonized. Once they colonized these areas, they just went. This photographer just went around taking photos of all their conquered people, all the people that were now under French sovereign rule. So that's why he took a photo of this girl. At least we know what year that it most likely occurred in, between 1858 and 1954. I was also able to find the location of the city where this photo was taken. Okay, as the text said, the photo was taken in the city of Lao Cai. Okay, if you look here on the map, it marked the location of Lao Cai in northwest Vietnam. So this is the area. We know exactly where this photo was taken. We know exactly what part of Vietnam where this photo was taken. Again, at least we're coming close. I mean, it's a start. I mean, at least we're starting to narrow things down a bit here. Okay, to narrow things down even more, I did some research on Lao Cai, the city where this black girl was found living in. Okay, now the text here says Lao Cai is a province in the mountainous northwest region of Vietnam, bordering the province of Yunnan in China. Lao Cai City is the capital of Lao Cai Province. With more than 20 ethnic groups, Lao Cai is a melting pot of cultures and histories. Ethnic Vietnamese are the majority. The province has 25 different ethnic minority groups, accounting for 64.09% of its population. The largest ethnic groups are Vietnamese, which make up 35.9%, Hmong, making up 22.21%, Tay, making up 15.84%, and Dao, which make up 14.05%, and others. Now, the problem I face here with doing research on this black girl is the fact that she is wearing traditional Chinese attire. She has on traditional Chinese dress. And that made it difficult for me because if she was wearing the traditional clothes, the traditional dress of her ethnic group, it would be easier for me to trace her. It'd be easier for me to do some research on her and identify just which particular ethnic group she belongs to. But the fact that she had assimilated into China, had assimilated into Chinese culture and Chinese tradition, that kind of pretty much masked her. Okay, she could be anybody. Okay, just like the text just said, there are many different ethnic groups that reside in Vietnam. So I don't know which one of those she belongs to because she's not wearing her traditional clothes. She's not wearing her traditional dress. She had assimilated into China. And that pretty much put a covering over her. And I can't identify who she is. I wish I could, but not with what I've been given. The article I just read to you stated the Hmong people is another community known to reside in Lao Cai, Vietnam. Similar to what you are seeing here, there are many photos of the Hmong people circulating amongst the public. This photo clearly depicts them as a non-black group. So we can see here, if we look at this photo, that these people are not black. Right, we can see that. We clearly see this is not a black group. This is a non-black Asian group living in Lao Cai, Vietnam. Non-black. We got that? Yeah, we got it. No problem. No black. Okay. However, One photo you would not see receiving wide circulation is this one. This girl is a member of the Hmong community also. There exists black Hmong people. Sorry to disappoint you, sorry to bust your bubble, but I'm sorry. Ain't life something? Right. Along with a host of other provinces in Vietnam, this group also reside in Lao Cai province, the province occupied by the black girl whom the French photographer took a picture of. So, it's a possibility that the black girl in Lao City that I was with the Chinese attire on, she might have been a member of the Hmong community. She might be. That's a possibility. Okay, she probably just was one member who adopted Chinese culture and got assimilated into Chinese tradition and Chinese culture. It's possible, but I don't know for sure. Well, anyway, as with many black groups in this area, early Hmong history indicates this community once resided further north in China, but was later pushed down into the southern regions by the expansion of the Han Chinese. So what happened is, once they had this big influx of Han Chinese coming into northern Vietnam, many of the blacks just retreated southward. Those who remained adopted Chinese culture. Those who resisted just got the hell out of there. Okay, I blew this picture up because I want you guys to take a real good close look at this, okay? This is a Hmong girl in Vietnam. Now, when you Google Hmong people, you don't see pictures like this, okay? What pops up are not pictures like this. You see the pictures like I showed you previously about these Asian Mongoloid looking people. They don't show you the blacks. They don't show you there exist black Hmong people in Vietnam. Yet this woman, she's a member of the Hmong community. But we don't see pictures like this. We are never given photos like this. But this woman exists. In Vietnam, black Hmong people, there's a black Hmong community in Vietnam and in other parts of Southeast Asia that we are not told about. Yet they exist just the same. Okay, the text here says, during China's Tang Dynasty from 618 to 907 AD, Vietnam fell under China's expansionist powers. With the steady influx of Han Chinese into Vietnam's northern regions, many blacks retreated southward into the interior of the country or into the hills or mountainous areas of Vietnam. Those blacks who remained simply adopted the culture of the Han Chinese. In this photo of the black girl, we can see the influence of the Han Chinese on her as she is wearing traditional Chinese attire. Now, I am reading this to you because this has pretty much been the central theme of many black groups in Southeast Asia, okay? Okay, many of them retreated southward into Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, areas like that. But I want you to also bear in mind that those blacks also built great kingdoms in those areas. For example, Angkor Wat in Cambodia and Champa Kingdom in Vietnam. We're going to talk more about that, but I want you to make it clear in your mind that a lot of groups, okay, they lived it farther north in China and then they just retreated southward into the southern regions. If you look at this map of China's spring and autumn period, as we can see, China was fragmented into several different states and kingdoms. As you can see here at the bottom, we have the Yueh or the Yueh kingdom at the bottom there. Okay, the Yueh kingdom, as we know, was a black kingdom. However, Yueh was not the only black kingdom that existed during China's spring and autumn period. Just north of the Yueh kingdom, we have the Wu kingdom. The Wu kingdom was also a black kingdom. Many Chinese writers spoke of them as being non-Chinese. And when we look deeper into their history, we see they were identified as a black people. The Qin dynasty from 221 to 207 BC referred to the Wu state as Wuman, which means the black barbarians. And as I explained to you guys previously, the Chinese referred to any person, any group of people who did not understand Chinese culture as barbarians. Because during the time of ancient China, they referred to China as the Middle Kingdom, which means they considered it the most advanced civilization on earth at that time. And anybody who did not understand their culture, their tradition, their way of life were considered beneath them, were considered uncivilized, were considered barbarians. And they referred to anybody who did not understand Chinese culture in that manner. Be that person an Asian person, a black person, a Caucasian, whoever did not understand Chinese culture was considered a barbarian. Here's a map of French Indochina. French Indochina was a group of France colonized territories in Southeast Asia. The countries that were under French control during this period included parts of China, Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. What happened during this period is the French took pictures of their conquered subjects. Okay, they went around to places in Vietnam, southern part of Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, southern part of China, and they just took pictures, I guess, documenting their conquered subjects. Okay, this is why we have the picture of the girl, the black girl in Lao Cai City in Vietnam. We have those pictures because the French, they were doing that to many people, many natives in the territories that they had colonized. Okay, they took pictures of many of those natives in those areas. Because the French traveled around photographing these peoples, we have many of these photos available to us. Here's a 1949 photo of a woman in the southern region of Vietnam. This photo was taken by French photographer Louis Ducy. And again, we have tons of these photos, okay? The French did not waste a lot of time taking photos of the natives that they conquered, that were under their colonized territories. So we have many of these photos available to us. This photo wasn't taken by the French. It was actually taken by the British. I guess the British decided they wanted to join in on the fun too. So they took photographs of their conquered subjects as well. What you will find so extraordinary about this photo is, can you believe this photo was actually taken in Singapore? Yeah, Singapore. Let me say this slowly, a black pygmy population found in Singapore. This photo was taken by the British in Singapore. I'm speechless. I never thought a pygmy population was even existing in Singapore, but apparently it was. This photo is documentation that there was a pygmy population found in Singapore, and the British took a photo of these peoples. Of course, they didn't know years later that we are going to see this. Thank you, British. That helps this channel a lot. I wanted to blow this picture up, okay? I wanted to make this picture bigger because I really wanted you guys to see this, okay? Here's this black pygmy population in Singapore. And just like the photo of the black girl in Lao Cai, Vietnam, this brings up about 20 million questions and inquiries we have about this. One question I have is, what else we don't know? What other area of Southeast Asia or Asia that we don't know that there's a black population there and we were not told about that? We had no information about that. Because this is the first time that I ran across a pygmy population in Singapore. Well, I actually saw a photograph of one. First of all, this picture is just absolutely amazing. And then it makes you wonder, what else? What other surprises is waiting for us in the study of history, in the study of black history? Like I said, the French went around and took photos of the natives in their colonized territories. Okay, here's a French photo taken of two black girls in Cambodia. Okay, now it reads here, in 1923, Harvard University anthropologist Roland Barrage Dixon stated, the ancient Khmer people had a short stature, dark skin, curly or even frizzly hair, broad noses, and thick negroid lips. Now just look at those two women in this photograph, okay? We can see that they are black women. It wasn't, again, the most honorable thing for the French to colonize these territories, to colonize these people. But I do appreciate this photo because then I get to show photos like this to you guys. Yeah, these photos help us to reclaim our heritage as a people, and they also help us in documenting what we have done as a people. Here's another French photo of Cambodia, okay? Look at this photo, okay? This is what we could call radically different from what we typically get. When it comes to photos of Cambodia. We don't get photos like this. Okay, first let me put this out here, okay? Let's make this crystal clear. I did not take this photo, okay? So don't get mad at me. It was the French who took this photo. It was the French who said these people are Khmer people. It was the French who said this is taken in Cambodia. They said that, not me, them. So if you have an issue with that, I suggest you go right to the French government. I don't work for that embassy. Well, anyway, yeah, look at this photo. This is a photo of black men in Cambodia taken by the French. We don't normally get this. This is radically different from what we typically get when it comes to photos of Khmer people in Cambodia. Completely different. Yeah, and again, I wanted to blow this one up too because I wanted you guys to look very clearly at this photo. Okay, okay, I want to get this really clear in your mind. Okay, I want to first I want to let you guys know again. Okay, I did not label this as a photo from Cambodia. Okay, I did not label this as Khmer people. Okay, it didn't come from me. Okay, go to the French government and file your complaint with them, not with me. Okay, but look at these guys. Okay, look at the skin. Look at the hair. Look at the kinky hair. Look at these guys sporting afros. And yet they say these are people from Cambodia. These are Khmer people. These are Khmer people from Cambodia. This is completely, radically different from modern photos of Khmer people that we get today. Totally different. And concerning this topic, historian Renoka Rashedi wrote, the most prominent and enduring kingdom in early Southeast Asia was Angkor, located primarily in Cambodia. The builders of Angkor were an Africoid people known as Khmers. Rashedi also said, in early Southeast Asia, the great kingdoms of Angkor in Cambodia and Champa in Vietnam were strongholds of black power. The Kingdom of Champa was an ancient kingdom that flourished in the central and southern part of Vietnam from the 2nd to the 17th century. The kingdom was established by a people known as the Chams. Their kingdom was a powerful Indianized culture that controlled trade in spices and silk between China, India, Indonesia, and Persia. The Champa kingdom's art and architecture are considered some of the most moving relics found in Southeast Asia today. People from all over the world marveled at the artwork produced by this civilization. Chinese dynastic records from 192 AD onward reference a kingdom it calls Lin Yi, which means land of black men. In Sanskrit documents, Lin Yi was known as Champa. Depicted on the right is an Apsara figure from the Champa period, which dates back to about 1100 AD. In Hinduism, an Apsara is a celestial nymph, dancer, and singer who lives in the heavens with the gods. Okay, I want to focus on the fact that when we look at these monuments, these relics, these statues produced by the Champa civilization, okay, I don't want when the early researchers, okay, the early anthropologists, okay, the early explorers from Europe, from Christian Europe, when they saw these monuments, when they saw these statues, they immediately assumed, well, they're not from Europe, okay, they're not from Christian Europe, so these people are naturally pagans, okay, they're naturally just uncivilized savages because they didn't come from Europe. So the early European researchers, anthropologists, archaeologists, they did not really try to understand what they were looking at. They assumed because these people did not came from Europe, they were naturally uncivilized. That they were naturally beneath them, below them in intellect. Okay, I don't want us to repeat that. I don't want us to see these people that way. It's more. I think we should do more than just show you guys monuments, show you guys statues, show you guys relics, but also we should explain the story behind them. Okay, what these monuments, what these statues meant to the people who produced them. Okay, because there's a lot of wisdom, there's a lot of understanding, intelligence that came behind these monuments, behind these relics. Okay, that we don't understand, that we should understand, because these people live way better than how we're doing today. Believe it or not. Yes, they did. These people did not produce global warming. They did not produce AIDS. They did not produce COVID. They live in harmony, in peace and harmony, and in rhythm with the natural world. And I think we should learn from that. I think, again, when it comes to these monuments, when it comes to these statues, we should try to understand why they produce them that way. What are these statues, what are these monuments meant to the people who produce them? What is an Apsara meant to the Champa people? Okay, that's what I think we should focus on. Oh, well. Anyway, that's just my little pet peeve, but I'm going to talk more about this later in upcoming videos. To the right is the head of Buddha from the Champa kingdom. Early Chinese records on Champa describe them as having black skin, eyes deep in the orbit, nose turned up, frizzy hair. Historian Godfrey Higgins in Anacalypsis stated, the ancient nations of Asia were of African origin. The influence of the black races upon the civilizations of the East is undeniable. From the earliest beginnings of the Khmer and Champa civilizations to the high cultural achievements seen in their art and architecture. Here's a Champa depiction of the deity Shiva, which dates back to the 7th century. We have several photos of this deity. As stated earlier, the Cham's people were known for producing some of the best artwork in that region of the world. Notice also, this deity displays Africoid facial features. Here's another Champa depiction of Shiva from the 7th century. Again, we see the deity displaying Africoid features. I mean, look at this statue, okay? Look at the nose. Look at the lips. Look at the hair. You can't say this deity is European. You can't say this deity is displaying traditional Asian features. This deity is a black man. Alright? Historian Runoko Rashedi stated, another major Southeast Asian power and sometimes rival of Angkor was the kingdom of Champa. Champa was the great kingdom of the blacks on the coast of Southeast Asia. Indeed, the facial characteristics of the statues of Cham are as Africoid as anywhere, including full lips and broad noses. Here's another Champa depiction of Shiva. And again, I just want to say, we are never going to understand the Champa kingdom until we study how these people viewed the world. What made them do what they did? Until we get that, we're going to always be in the dark. In Hinduism, Shiva is considered the destroyer, the one who destroys the world to make way for its recreation. Hindus believe that Shiva's destruction is constructive, in that he uses his power to remove illusions and imperfections. And again, like I said, it's not just enough to just study that these people were black, but how they move, how they live, how they viewed the world, what was important to them, what their values were, what they considered precious. Then we come into a deeper understanding of Champa civilization. Until we get that, we're going to be looking at these monuments, these statues, these relics, and just be completely in the dark and not understand any of it. It should be known the Champa kingdom indulged very heavily in commerce and trade. It was a trading nation which did business with many nations in the area. They were known for sending large fleets of ships to India, Arabia, Africa, China, and perhaps Japan and Korea as well. Okay, the reason why I say Japan and Korea is because there exists ancient Japanese records of black men arriving at their shores in ships. Okay, this exists. The Japanese noted that there were black men in ancient times who came to their country in ships. So it's a possibility that these guys, these black sailors, came from the Champa kingdom. That possibility does exist. And if the Champa merchants did arrive in Korea, then that would most definitely answer a lot of questions. Because we sometimes run across these photos of black Koreans. Okay? And no one know how these people got there. You see this picture before you now? These are black Koreans. And people are completely baffled It's a complete mystery as how in the hell did these black people get to Korea? Where did they come from? We don't know anything about that. When did this start happening? This is one of the great mysteries, of black history, of history in general. Because, black people are not supposed to do things like that. Black people are not supposed to be intelligent enough to build ships and sail around the world. Other people can do that, but the black, no. Their intellect is incapable of such feats. That's the way we've been taught by the Eurocentric education system. But this photo standing before you, that's presented before you, this is a real photo. So how do you think it happened? One possibility is the Champa merchants arrived in Korea. That possibility does exist. Okay, now, the text here reads, many people are at a loss when it comes to explaining what are these people doing in Korea. Okay, look at this picture. Okay, y'all look at this one. Okay, look at this one real close. Okay, the text here says, the image you see here have baffled many people. Because as far as many are concerned, these people are not supposed to be there. This is not supposed to be a ghost standing before them. This is not supposed to be happening. Okay, the text go on to say, black people are not supposed to be intelligent enough to build ships and sail around the world. We are not supposed to have the mental capacity to do things like that. This is why this photo is an enigma. They don't know how this happened. They don't know. Maybe it was a ghost or something. Maybe some aliens or something. But this is not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to find these black Koreans, this older photograph of black Koreans in Korea. This is not supposed to happen. Yet this photo exists. Like I said, just like with the first photo with the black girl in Lao Cai, Vietnam, this just brings up a million trillion questions now yet to be answered. This is what Dr. Renoka Rashidi said. Okay, black history is still an open wide field, and much of our history have not even been researched yet. Most of what we know about black people, most of our history, it haven't been documented. Haven't been researched yet. There's still room. This is a wide open field for many people. There's many books yet to be written. This is a wide open field, and I invite others to research this. You can really make a name for yourself. You'd be the first one to write about this topic because nobody is doing it. You will be a pioneer in this area. Literally, you'll be a pioneer in this area. People will be consulting your books and your texts as a reference to build their own foundation about black history, to build their own foundation about blacks in ancient Korea. Because like Renoka Rashidi said, most of our history is not been written up. It's still waiting to be researched by people like you, by the young generation. Okay, now to wrap this up, I want to discuss lastly this individual here. His name is Henry Otley Bayer. An American anthropologist believes Champa sailing merchants found their way into the Philippines. You hear that? According to Bayer, these merchants were called Orang Dampuans, meaning men of Champa. Bayer said these black sailors were the first civilized foreigners to establish a settlement in Zulu. Bear in mind, Zulu is a province in the Philippines. It's a province in northern Philippines. Okay, so I want to just present you guys this position and being held by Henry Otley Bayer because to let you know this is not just a black thing. Okay, other researchers from other nationalities have also said the men of Champa, the sailors, the merchant sailors from the kingdom of Champa sailed to other countries. They sailed to India. They sailed to East Africa. They sailed to Indonesia, the Philippines, Japan, China, countries in those areas. It's not just a black thing. Other people also hold this position, including Henry Otley Bayer, an American anthropologist. Okay, if you look on this map here, we have two shaded areas. These shaded areas identifies the location of both the Champa Kingdom and the Philippines. Okay, so what gives strength to Bayer's position is the fact that Champa and the Philippines are relatively close to each other. It's not a stretch to imagine Champa sailors reaching the Philippines. If you look on this map, we can see that that's a real possibility. I mean, come on, guys. Let's be honest here, okay? These people, the Champa merchants and sailors, they reached India, Arabia, East Africa. So I don't think they're going to have much of an issue, okay, reaching the Philippines. I don't think that's going to be a big worry for them. And based on it, because we look on this map, we see that's a real possibility that they can do that. So this gives further support to Bayer's position that Champa sailors actually reached the Philippines. Okay, one evidence that supports Bayer's position is photos like these, okay? There is an indigenous black community in the Philippines currently. There are several indigenous black communities living in the Philippines currently. As you can see here, the text on this slide reads, other evidence which supports Bayer's position is the fact that the Philippines has an indigenous black community known as the Aitas. The Aitas are viewed as the original inhabitants of that land. So as we can see here, the Philippines is now hosting black communities living there today. And these are indigenous people who are viewed as the original inhabitants of that country. Okay, the original inhabitants of the Philippines. And according to Bayer, these people came from the Champa civilization. Champa sailors came there, built a settlement, and there's a strong possibility that a lot of these people are descendants of Champa sailors who built a settlement in the Philippines. Okay, in conclusion, I want to say I really had a very difficult time trying to narrow this video down because there's a lot to be said about this topic, okay? A whole lot to be said about it. As I have here on this slide, it says barely scratched the surface, and Lord knows that is the truth because there's a lot that could have been said about a lot of aspects of this topic. Okay, I had a really difficult time trying to narrow down my talk about the Yueh kingdom, the Yueh state, because there's a lot to be said about that. Okay, the Yueh state was mentioned several times in Chinese history. A lot of Chinese historians, a lot of Chinese literature talks about them. For example, there was a group called the Yueh. This was a black Mongolian group who were constantly at war with the Chinese. They were constantly fighting with the Chinese, and the Chinese basically didn't like them because these were some fierce, formidable warriors, and they were a constant menace to the Chinese people. And I had to exclude that information out because, again, the topic of this video was black kingdoms in South China and Vietnam. So I couldn't talk too much about what was going on up north with the Yueh and the Chinese. Also, the Yueh kingdom in southern China, it also covered Taiwan. And there's a big story to be said about that too, because there existed black pygmy Taiwan had a black pygmy population, okay? And several other Aboriginal groups in Taiwan today has legends of these black pygmy population in Taiwan. And I couldn't include that because, again, we're just talking about China, South China, and Vietnam. So I couldn't go too far into that because then if I did, you guys would think I'm just running off on a tangent. And I want to stick to the subject. I had to use a lot of discipline and to keep on task, to keep on topic. Okay. Also, a lot of the black groups in Vietnam and South China, their history go all the way back to the Shang dynasty. They're mentioned in the Shang dynasty. That's why I kept repeating the fact that a lot of these groups live up north in China and then they were pushed down into South China, into Vietnam, because that is true. A lot of them were up north during the spring and autumn period, during the time of the Shang dynasty. So there's a lot to be said about this topic. Okay, so I just like to tell you guys, yes, please stay tuned to upcoming videos because there's more to be said about this topic. Way more to be said about it. And I think you guys would be very intrigued with this information. Thank you for listening to my video.